Hey guys, tonight we're going on a journey, not to some exotic beach or a bustling metropolis, but to a place far, far colder and infinitely more challenging, the ancient Arctic. You're going to feel the bite of the wind, the crunch of snow underfoot, and the subtle shift of ice beneath a sealskin boot. Imagine, if you will, being completely enveloped by a world of white, where the sun might not rise for months, and survival hinges on understanding every nuance of the environment, and crucially, forming an unbreakable bond with a creature unlike any other, the Arctic dog. You'll be right there, shivering slightly, as we uncover how Inuit hunters trained these incredible animals not with shouts or whips, but with something far more profound, whispered songs. You probably won't survive a single day out there without their help, so pay attention. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you in the comments below. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself standing on a vast, treeless expanse. The air so sharp it feels like tiny needles pricking your skin. This isn't just cold, this is a cold that seeps into your bones, a cold that defines existence. This is the ancient Arctic, thousands of years ago, a time when the first humans, often referred to as the Paleo-Inuit, or ancestors of the modern Inuit, ventured into this extreme northern frontier. They weren't just visiting, they were settling, adapting, and finding ways to thrive where others would surely perish. Think about that for a moment. No supermarkets, no central heating, no immediate rescue. Just you, your wits, and whatever you could fashion from bone, sinew, and stone. These early inhabitants weren't looking for a vacation spot. They were following the movements of game. Caribou across the tundra, seals and whales along the coastlines. Their lives were inextricably linked to the ebb and flow of the natural world, a rhythm dictated by ice, snow, and the migrations of prey. They learned to build ingenious shelters from snow, hunt with incredible precision, and develop technologies that allowed them to not just survive, but flourish in one of the planet's most unforgiving environments. You're witnessing, right now, the very beginning of a human story defined by resilience and remarkable ingenuity. Historians still argue whether their initial push northward was driven primarily by resource availability or a natural human inclination to explore the very edges of the known world. It's a chicken or egg scenario, really, except with more Parker. One mainstream historical fact you'll immediately grasp is the sheer geographical scale of their world. These were not sedentary communities in the modern sense. They were nomadic, moving with the seasons and the animals. You'd be packing up your entire life, which, thankfully, didn't include a king-size mattress every few weeks or months. Imagine the logistical nightmare of relocating an entire village without trucks, only your own strength, and perhaps a rudimentary sled. This constant movement fostered a deep, intimate knowledge of the land, an encyclopedic understanding of ice conditions, animal behavior, and subtle weather shifts. You become, in essence, a living map, every contour and current etched into your memory. Now for a quirky tidbit. Did you know that some archaeological evidence suggests these early Arctic inhabitants might have used prehistoric snow goggles made from bone or antler with narrow slits to prevent snow blindness? You'd look like something out of a low-budget sci-fi movie, but hey, it beats going blind in a blizzard. It's a testament to their problem-solving skills, finding elegant solutions to incredibly harsh realities. You're learning to appreciate the simple things, like being able to see where you're going without your eyeballs freezing solid. Your initial interactions with this environment are crucial. You're observing, learning, absorbing. The silence here is profound, broken only by the whine of the wind or the distant crack of shifting ice. But soon you'll notice another presence, a shadow moving at the periphery of your vision, a wild dog, perhaps drawn by the scent of a recent kill, or simply by curiosity. This isn't your pampered poodle. This is a creature of the wild, sharp-eyed, and wary. And it's this initial, tentative interaction that sets the stage for one of history's most extraordinary partnerships. You're about to witness the very first steps in a relationship that would redefine survival in the Arctic, transforming both human and beast in the process. You're still out there on the vast icy canvas, the wind a constant companion, but now your gaze is fixed on that fleeting glimpse of a wild canid. This isn't just any wolf or wild dog. This is a creature perfectly adapted to this harsh environment, with thick fur, boundless stamina, and an uncanny ability to navigate the snow. You're witnessing, in real time, the very dawn of domestication's dawn in ice, a process profoundly different from how dogs became man's best friend in warmer climes. Forget the cosy hearth or the scraps from a hunter-gatherer camp. Here, the stakes were much, much higher. In most parts of the world, dog domestication is thought to have begun with wolves scavenging human refuse, gradually becoming more tolerant of human presence. But in the Arctic, the narrative likely unfolded differently. There wasn't a surplus of discarded mammoths for the taking, nor easily accessible settlements for opportunistic scavenging. Instead, the relationship here was forged out of necessity, a mutual benefit between two highly intelligent species trying to survive in a world that wanted to, quite frankly, freeze them solid. You can almost feel the tension, the slow, cautious dance of proximity that eventually blossomed into partnership. Historians still argue whether Arctic dog domestication was an independent event or if domesticated dogs migrated with human populations into the region. But what's clear is that the pressure to domesticate, or at least integrate these animals, was immense. A key mainstream historical fact here is that archaeological evidence, particularly DNA analysis, from ancient dog remains, suggests a distinct lineage for Arctic dogs, indicating their long and unique coevolution with Inuit peoples. These weren't just any dogs, they were Arctic dogs, forged by the very environment they inhabited. You're seeing the beginnings of a breed, a type of dog, uniquely suited to puling heavy loads through deep snow and enduring brutal cold. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some theories propose that early Arctic humans might have initially adopted wolf pups, perhaps after finding abandoned dens, or even traded for them with neighbouring groups. Imagine trying to raise a wolf pup in a snow cave, hoping it wouldn't eat your mittens. It's a bold move, definitely not for the faint of heart, or for those who prefer their pets to fetch slippers instead of small game. But this kind of hands-on, intensive interaction, right from a young age, would have been crucial in shaping the temperament of these nascent sled dogs. The initial stages wouldn't have been about formal training, not in the way you might think of sit and stay. It would have been about coexistence, about observation, about understanding the innate behaviours of these animals. You're watching as these early humans recognise the incredible strength, endurance, and keen senses of the wild canids. They see how a wolf pack moves, how they communicate, how they hunt, and a light bulb probably flickers over someone's head, or maybe it was a whale oil lamp given the era. What if we could harness that? You're seeing the first tentative steps towards a working relationship. Perhaps a dog, drawn by curiosity or a shared hunger, lingers near a human camp. Instead of being driven off, it's tolerated. Maybe it helps track a caribou, Maybe its keen nose alerts the humans to an approaching polar bear. You begin to understand that in this unforgiving landscape, every advantage counts. A dog that can pull a heavy sled, track prey, or warn of danger isn't just a pet. It's a vital tool, an indispensable partner in the fight for survival. This process wasn't quick. It wasn't a one-day decision, like picking out a puppy from a litter. It was a gradual generational evolution, a slow dance of trust and utility that shaped both species. You're observing the very genesis of a bond, born not just of affection, but of necessity. And this necessity, forged in the crucible of the Arctic, would lead to some of the most sophisticated and empathetic animal training techniques known to humanity. You're starting to feel a subtle shift in the air, a sense of anticipation as the wildness of the dog slowly, imperceptibly begins to merge with the needs of the human. You're still observing the Arctic wind whipping around you, but now the focus shifts from the initial, tentative approaches to the burgeoning relationship itself. You're witnessing the early canine companionship, a bond that goes far beyond mere utility. This isn't just about a dog pulling a sled or tracking game. It's about a deep, reciprocal connection that was essential for psychological as well as physical survival in this desolate landscape. Imagine living in a world where your closest neighbours might be hundreds of miles away and the only other warm body in your igloo is a four-legged one. You begin to understand that loneliness is a luxury you can't afford, and a loyal dog is more than just an animal, it's family. This profound bond is a mainstream historical fact that distinguishes Arctic dog relationships. Unlike some cultures where working animals were seen purely as beasts of burden, the Inuit often viewed their dogs as sentient beings, integral members of the hunting party and the family unit. You'd see them sharing food, huddling together for warmth, and even engaging in playful interactions despite the harsh realities of their existence. It's a relationship built on mutual respect and interdependence, where the dog trusts the human to provide and the human trusts the dog with their very life. A quirky tidbit that highlights this deep connection: some traditional Inuit stories describe dogs as having souls, or even being able to communicate with humans in a way that transcends barks and growls. You might hear tales of dogs guiding lost hunters home through blizzards, or sacrificing themselves to protect their human companions from polar bears. These aren't just fables. They reflect a profound cultural understanding of the dog's intelligence and loyalty. It's a reminder that even in the most practical of partnerships, there's always room for a little bit of magic, or at least a lot of love. You're starting to feel a warmth in your chest, despite the biting cold just thinking about it. This early companionship wasn't without its challenges, of course. Maintaining a pack of dogs in an environment where food was often scarce required immense effort. You'd be constantly weighing the needs of your dogs against the needs of your family, a delicate balance that speaks volumes about their value. Historians still argue whether the primary driver for this close companionship was purely practical, a dog's utility, if there was an inherent human desire for animal companionship that blossomed in the isolation of the Arctic. It's probably a bit of both, because who doesn't want a furry friend to cuddle with when it's minus 40 degrees outside? You're observing how this bond facilitates early forms of training. It's not about dominance, it's about cooperation. You're learning to read your dog's body language, to understand its subtle cues, and in turn, your dog is learning to interpret your intentions. This mutual understanding forms the bedrock of all future training. You might start by simply encouraging a dog to follow you, then to carry a light pack, gradually building up to the complex tasks of pulling a sled. Every successful interaction strengthens the trust, solidifying the partnership. The dogs, for their part, were not simply passive recipients of human affection, they were active participants in their own domestication. Their intelligence, their pack instincts, and their natural desire to work were all leveraged by their human companions. You're seeing a symbiotic relationship unfold, where each species benefits from the presence of the other. The humans gain mobility, hunting prowess, and an early warning system, while the dogs gain a reliable food source, protection from predators, and a defined role within a social structure. It's a win-win as long as you don't mind sharing your sleeping bag with a few dozen pounds of fur and muscle. As you continue to observe, you realize that this early canine companionship laid the groundwork for the highly specialized sled dogs that would come to define Arctic travel. Without this initial period of trust building and mutual understanding, the sophisticated training methods that would later emerge, including those whispered songs, would have been impossible. You're witnessing the foundation being poured, brick by furry brick, of a partnership that would conquer the most formidable landscapes on Earth. The bond is forming, you can feel it, a subtle hum of connection in the biting Arctic air. Now, you're watching this companionship evolve into something more specialized, witnessing the very beginnings of sled dog evolution begins. This isn't just about a dog being a good friend, it's about a dog becoming a finely tuned athlete, a living engine capable of incredible feats of endurance and strength. You're seeing the foundational steps of creating the ultimate cold weather work animal, a process that would take generations of careful selection and innovative training. A mainstream historical fact here is that the physical characteristics of early Arctic dogs, their dense double coats, powerful builds, and remarkable stamina were not accidental. These traits were naturally selected by the brutal environment and then, crucially, actively encouraged by the Inuit. You weren't breeding for lapdogs here, you were breeding for survival. Imagine trying to explain selective breeding to someone whose immediate concern is finding enough food to last the winter. Yet they intuitively understood it. They recognized which dogs had the drive, the intelligence, and the physical prowess to pull a heavy load day after day through blizzards and over treacherous ice. Those were the dogs they kept, those were the dogs they bred. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some of these early sled dogs might have consumed a diet surprisingly rich in fat, often including seal blubber or whale meat. You can almost smell it, a greasy, fishy scent wafting through the frozen air. While it might sound unappetizing to your modern palate, this high-fat diet was crucial for providing the immense energy needed to stay warm and perform strenuous work in sub-zero temperatures. It's like a prehistoric energy bar, only far more effective and probably less chewy. It also helped them maintain that magnificent insulating coat. Historians still argue whether the initial development of sledding technology, like harnesses and sled runners, drove the specialization of the dogs, or if the natural capabilities of the dogs inspired the development of more sophisticated sledding techniques. It's another classic chicken and egg scenario, perhaps best resolved by concluding they probably evolved in tandem, each pushing the other forward. You're seeing this interplay firsthand. As the dogs get stronger, the sleds get better, and vice versa. You observe the early attempts at harnessing. Initially, it might have been simple straps of hide, perhaps even a single dog pulling a light load. But as the need grew for greater efficiency and capacity, the designs would have become more sophisticated. You see the ingenuity in their methods, figuring out how to distribute weight, how to prevent chafing, and how to connect multiple dogs into a cohesive unit. This wasn't something you learned from a manual, it was learned through trial and error, through countless hours of observation and adaptation. You're watching innovation unfold in real time, born out of sheer necessity. The training, even at this early stage, wouldn't have been about brute force. These dogs were too valuable, too essential to be broken. Instead, it was about channeling their natural instincts. You see handlers encouraging their natural desire to run, to pull, to be part of a pack. The strongest, most willing dogs would naturally take the lead, their innate sense of direction and courage, invaluable assets. You're not just training a dog, you're building a team, understanding that each member, canine and human, has a vital role to play. The evolution of these sled dog breeds wasn't just about physical attributes, it was also about temperament. You needed dogs that were resilient, intelligent, and, perhaps most importantly, biddable willing to work with humans, even under immense pressure. The dogs that were aggressive, stubborn, or easily distracted simply wouldn't have made the cut. You're seeing a process of natural and artificial selection working in harmony, shaping not just bodies but minds, creating creatures uniquely suited to partnership and purpose in the frozen wilderness. The groundwork is being laid, paw by sturdy paw, for the incredible feats of teamwork you're about to witness. The wind is still biting, but now you're hearing something new, something almost imperceptible over the vast, echoing silence of the Arctic. It's a low hum, a gentle murmur, a sound unlike any command you'd expect for a powerful animal. You're entering the heart of our story, delving into the very genesis of whispered song's genesis. How did such an unusual, intimate form of communication become the primary method for training magnificent sled dogs in one of the world's harshest environments? It wasn't born out of a sudden inspiration, it was a deeply practical evolution, sculpted by the unique demands of survival. A mainstream historical fact reveals that the Arctic environment itself played a crucial role in shaping these communication methods. Unlike open plains, where a shouted command might carry far, the vast, often featureless expanses of snow and ice, combined with extreme cold, can distort and dampen sound. More importantly, loud noises could scare away the very prey the hunters depended on: seals at a breathing hole, caribou grazing on the tundra. Imagine yelling at your dogs only to watch your dinner stampede over the horizon. Not ideal. The need for stealth, for a quiet, almost imperceptible means of direction, became paramount. Consider a quirky tidbit. The very act of whispering or soft singing actually conserves body heat. Shouting expends more energy, drawing cold air deep into your lungs and potentially chilling you faster. In an environment where every calorie counted and frostbite was a constant threat, even the way you spoke to your dogs became a matter of survival economics. It's a fascinating example of how the environment dictates not just what you do, but how you do it, right down to the vocal cords. You're learning to appreciate the subtle efficiencies of ancient survival. Historians still argue whether the whispered songs evolved primarily as a stealth hunting technique or as a more intimate way to foster the unique human-dog bond required for extreme teamwork. It was likely both, a beautiful synergy where practicality met profound connection. You see a hunter, bundled in furs, a fine mist of breath around their face, leaning close to the led dog, murmuring a series of soft, melodic sounds. It's not just a command, it's a conversation, a quiet flow of information passed between two beings who share an understanding forged by shared hardship. You're observing the subtle cues within these whispered songs. They aren't just random sounds, they carry specific meanings, perhaps indicating direction changes, speed adjustments, or warnings of obstacles. The cadence, the tone, the rhythmal become vital pieces of information. The dogs, with their incredibly acute hearing, would pick up on these minute distinctions even over the crunch of snow or the howl of the wind. It's a highly sophisticated auditory language, developed organically over countless generations. You might try to mimic a sound, but you'd probably just sound like you're clearing your throat awkwardly. The genesis of these songs also lies in the deep understanding of canine psychology. The Inuit recognized that dogs, as pack animals, respond instinctively to vocalizations, especially those that mimic the subtle nuances of canine communication. The low growls, the soft whines, the varied pitches that convey complex social information within a wolf pack. By mirroring these natural vocalizations, albeit in a human whispered form, the hunters tapped into the very core of their dog's being. You're watching as a hunter becomes part of the pack, not through dominance, but through empathy and intelligent adaptation. This intimate, whispered communication fostered an extraordinary level of trust and responsiveness. When your life depends on your dogs pulling in unison through a whiteout, you need their immediate and precise obedience, not delayed reactions from shouted commands. The whispered songs created an almost telepathic link, a shared understanding that transcended mere words. You're beginning to feel the profound connection, the almost spiritual bond that arises from such a unique form of interaction. It's more than training, it's an ancient, silent symphony played out on the frozen stage of the Arctic. The whispers are still echoing, soft and low, a stark contrast to the vast, empty space around you. Now you're trying to decipher them, to understand the intricacies of these acoustic training techniques. It's not just that they whispered, but how they whispered, and how those specific sounds created a remarkable system of communication that could guide a powerful team of dogs through the most challenging terrain imaginable. You're diving deep into the subtle science, or perhaps the profound art of Arctic soundscapes. A mainstream historical fact about these techniques is that the Inuit understood, long before modern acoustics, the principles of sound propagation in cold, open environments. Sound travels differently in cold, dense air and can be influenced by snow cover and wind. A whisper, especially one with a specific pitch and cadence, could be surprisingly effective over short to medium distances in conditions where a shout would dissipate or be carried away by the wind. They weren't just making noise, they were crafting specific auditory signals tailored to the environment. You might think it's counterintuitive, but sometimes less is more, especially when you're trying to not alert a wary seal. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some researchers speculate that the whispered songs might have incorporated subtle vocalizations that mimic dog or wolf sounds, such as specific types of whines, growls, or even panting rhythms. It's like learning to speak dog, but through a human vocal filter. This would tap directly into the dog's innate understanding of canine communication, making the human commands feel more natural and intuitive to them. You're essentially being told to go left by someone who sounds a bit like a contented puppy. It's a remarkably clever, if slightly absurd, thought. Historians still argue whether the exact melodic patterns within these whispered songs were standardized across different Inuit groups, or if each hunter developed their own unique repertoire tailored to their specific team and hunting needs. It's likely there was a mix, core commonalities, but also individual variations, much like regional dialects in human language. You can imagine a veteran musher having their signature turned left at the iceberg whisper that only their dogs truly understood. You observe the practical application of these acoustics. The whispered commands weren't simply spoken words. They were often melodic phrases or short, rhythmic chants. The dogs would learn to associate specific tunes or tonal shifts with particular actions. A rising pitch might mean speed up, while a descending melody could signify slow down or stop. The rhythm could dictate the pace of the team, a steady beat for a sustained pull, or a quicker tempo for a burst of speed. You're realizing that this isn't just about volume, it's about the entire sonic texture of the sound. The consistency of these acoustic cues was paramount. You train a dog from puppyhood to respond to these specific sounds, reinforcing the connection through repetition and positive association, which often meant a tasty bit of blubber. The quiet nature of the communication also fostered a heightened sense of attentiveness in the dogs. They had to listen closely, to strain their ears to catch the subtle nuances which made them incredibly focused on their handler's voice. You're seeing the development of extreme listening skills in animals, far beyond what your average house pet demonstrates when you rustle a treat bag. Moreover, the whispered songs created a calmer, less stressful environment for the dogs. Shouting could induce anxiety or aggression, particularly in a high-stress situation. A calm, consistent whisper, however, fostered a sense of reassurance and cooperation. You're witnessing a form of psychological conditioning, where the very act of the handler speaking becomes a soothing, guiding force for the team. It's like a lullaby that tells you to pull 1,000-pound sled, and somehow it works. The air is still filled with those soft, rhythmic whispers, but now you're seeing them not just as sounds, but as keys unlocking primal responses. You're observing how these auditory cues are masterfully harnessing instinct with sound, transforming wild, powerful animals into a cohesive, responsive team. This isn't about breaking their spirit. It's about channeling their innate behaviors, using sound as a bridge between human intention and canine instinct. You're witnessing a profound understanding of animal psychology in action of millennia, before any university offered a degree in it. A mainstream historical fact here is the Inuits' deep knowledge of wolf pack dynamics. They observed how wolves communicate silently or with subtle vocalizations within their pack, how they respond to the leader's presence, and how they cooperate in a hunt. The whispered songs, with their nuanced tones and rhythmic qualities, were designed to mimic or resonate with these natural canine communication patterns. You're essentially speaking to them in their native tongue, a language of instinct that bypasses the need for harsh commands. It's like speaking fluent dog, but with a human larynx. Now, for a quirky tidbit. Some experts believe that the sustain of the whispered notes, rather than just the initial sound, was crucial. Imagine a long, drawn-out hum that carries a specific instruction, allowing the dogs to continuously process the command even as they're pulling hard or navigating difficult terrain. It's not a sudden bark that's over in a flash. It's a lingering resonance that guides them. You can almost feel the vibrations in your own chest, a subtle hum that would guide you through a blinding blizzard. Historians still argue whether this deep understanding of canine instinct was developed through countless generations of empirical observation, or if there was an element of spiritual connection and intuition involved. Perhaps it was a blend of both, a practical wisdom steeped in a profound respect for the animal world. You're watching a hunter who is not just a master of their craft, but also a student of the wild, learning from the very creatures they depend on. You observe how the whispered commands leverage the dog's natural pack mentality. Within a team, there's a leader, and the others follow. The handler, through their consistent, calming vocalizations, effectively becomes the ultimate pack leader, guiding the collective without needing to assert physical dominance. The dogs aren't working for the human in a subservient way. They're working with them as part of a larger, functional unit. You see the lead dog turn its head slightly, its ears swiveling to catch the faint sound, then adjust its course, the rest of the team falling in line behind it. It's a symphony of cooperation, driven by a whispered conductor. The rhythmic nature of many of these songs also played a crucial role in maintaining focus and momentum. Think of a drum beat, keeping pace for rowers in a boat. The steady rhythm of the whispered song could help the dogs maintain a consistent speed and effort, even over long distances. It was a mental anchor, a constant, reassuring presence that helped them overcome fatigue and the monotony of endless white landscapes. You're realizing that these weren't just commands, they were motivational anthems, soft encouragements to push forward. Furthermore, the very act of whispering implies intimacy and trust. It requires the dog to be close, to listen intently, fostering a heightened sense of connection between handler and animal. Unlike a shouted order that might be heard by all, a whispered command is personal, directed. It strengthens the individual bond within the team, making each dog feel uniquely addressed and valued. You're seeing how an ancient practice instinctively created a feedback loop of responsiveness and loyalty, an intricate dance between sound, instinct, and survival. It's truly remarkable how much can be conveyed with so little audible effort. The whispers are now a constant guiding hum in the cold, clear air. You're no longer just observing a training method, you're seeing its ultimate purpose to create the silent, efficient engine of the hunt. You're witnessing the critical role of well-trained dogs as the hunter's silent partner, especially for large game. In the unforgiving Arctic, a successful hunt isn't just about food, it's about life or death for the entire community. And without their canine companions, many hunts would simply be impossible or far too dangerous. A mainstream historical fact underscores the sheer necessity of these dogs in hunting. They were indispensable for tracking prey across vast, often featureless snowscapes. Imagine trying to follow the faint scent of a polar bear or a seal's breathing hole buried under fresh snow. Your human senses are laughably inadequate. But a dog's nose, honed over millennia, combined with their incredible stamina, could pick up trails that were invisible to the human eye. They were the ultimate biosensors, guiding hunters to their elusive quarry. You'd be hopelessly lost, quite literally, without them. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some Inuit hunters believed their dogs could sense the presence of animals even before they were within scent or hearing range, almost like a sixth sense for prey. Perhaps it was a subtle change in wind currents, a specific ground vibration, or an instinct refined by generations of survival. Whatever the reason, this perceived precognition further solidified the deep trust between hunter and dog. It's like having a four-legged, furry premonition machine, only instead of predicting the stock market, it predicts dinner. Historians still argue whether the most challenging aspect of large game hunting with dogs was teaching them to work cooperatively as a pack, or to maintain silence and stealth during the final approach. It was likely a delicate balance, requiring dogs that were both powerful and incredibly disciplined. You're watching a masterclass in controlled aggression and precision. You observe a hunter approaching a seal's breathing hole. The dogs, instead of barking excitedly, are low to the ground, ears swiveling, tails barely twitching. The hunter gives a nearly imperceptible signal, a quiet hum perhaps, and the lead dog stiffens, indicating the presence of prey beneath the ice. This silent communication is paramount. Any noise, any sudden movement, and the seal would be gone, diving deep into the frigid waters. The The dogs aren't just pulling the sled to the hunting ground. They are an active, intelligent part of the stalking process. They are the silent alarm system, the radar, the tracking device, all rolled into one furry package. For hunting larger, more dangerous game, like polar bears or muskoxen, the dog's role shifted slightly. While stealth was still important, their ability to harass and distract the animal became crucial. A well-trained team could encircle a polar bear, barking and moving to keep it occupied and facing the dogs, allowing the hunter to get into a safe position for a kill. This was incredibly dangerous work, and it speaks volumes about the bravery of both the dogs and the hunters. You're seeing a coordinated dance of courage and cunning, where every movement and every sound, or lack thereof, is meticulously planned. The whispered songs, in this context, were not just for commands, but for maintaining composure. A hunter could use a low, steady hum to calm an excited dog, to remind them of their training, to keep them focused on the task at hand rather than giving in to primal excitement. It's a subtle form of crowd control, but instead of crowds, it's powerful animals with sharp teeth. You realize that the relationship isn't just about utility, it's about mutual respect for each other's roles in the dangerous business of survival. The dogs trusted the hunter to deliver the kill, and the hunter trusted the dogs to hold the line. The silence of the hunt still hangs heavy, a testament to the dog's discipline, but now you're pulling back to see the broader canvas of their utility. Beyond tracking the elusive seal or cornering a formidable polar bear, these incredible animals were indispensable for simply getting from point A to point B in a world defined by endless white. You're now witnessing how dogs aided in navigating icy labyrinths, transforming vast, featureless Arctic landscapes from insurmountable barriers into traversable pathways. A mainstream historical fact that becomes immediately apparent is that traditional Inuit travel over land and sea ice would have been virtually impossible without powerful, reliable dog teams. Without roads, landmarks, or even consistent visible features, navigating through blizzards, across frozen fjords, or over vast expanses of tundra required a unique skill set. The dogs weren't just pulling, they were often leading, their instincts and senses providing a navigational map far superior to any human's. You'd be utterly lost without their intuitive understanding of the terrain. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some Inuit handlers were said to train their lead dogs to recognize subtle changes in snow texture or ice thickness by sound or feel, alerting the human driver to potential dangers like thin ice or hidden crevasses. Imagine a dog tapping its paw, giving a low whine, or simply slowing its pace, communicating danger ahead without a single human word. It's like having a furry, four-legged sonar system, only far more reliable and a lot less prone to needing batteries. Historians still argue whether the dog's primary navigational skill was an innate sense of direction, or if they were largely guided by the subtle, almost imperceptible cues from their human handlers, who knew the landscape intimately. It was likely a symbiotic relationship, where the dog's superior senses amplified the human's geographical knowledge. You're seeing a dance of intuition and learned wisdom, where the dog's keen senses acted as an extension of the hunter's own perception. You observe the dog team moving across a vast white expanse. There are no trees, no mountains, no discernible landmarks. The sky blends seamlessly with the snow, creating a disorienting whiteout. Yet, the lead dog pulls steadily, its head held high, its body language radiating confidence. How? Often, it was an innate sense of direction, a kind of internal compass. But it was also their incredible sense of smell, picking up faint scent trails left days or weeks earlier, perhaps by caribou or even by the hunters themselves on a previous journey. You're realizing that the Arctic, while seemingly barren, is actually a tapestry of subtle scents and nearly invisible tracks that only the most sensitive noses can decipher. When visibility was zero, the dogs became the eyes and ears of the team. The muffled sound of ice cracking, the subtle shift in the wind carrying the scent of open water, or even the faint echo of distant sounds off an unseen ice wall. These were all picked up by the dogs long before the human driver registered them. The handler, relying on the dog's reactions, would adjust their course, trusting their animal partners implicitly. You're seeing a level of trust that only comes from knowing your life literally depends on the acute senses of another being. The rhythmic pull of the sled and the steady pace of the dogs also provided a vital sense of continuity and direction. Even when the world outside was a swirling vortex of snow, the consistent movement of the team anchored the hunter, preventing disorientation and maintaining momentum. The whispered songs, too, played a subtle navigational role, their familiar rhythm a constant, reassuring presence, guiding the dogs forward, reinforcing the intended path. It's like an auditory tether, connecting you to your purpose and your destination, even when all visual cues have vanished. You're witnessing how every aspect of their interaction, from the dog's instincts to the hunter's whispers, contributed to the miraculous feat of traversing an otherwise impassable world. The profound silence of the vast white world stretches before you, occasionally broken by the gentle panting of the dogs or the soft hiss of the sled runners. You've seen how these incredible animals aided in navigation, but now you're witnessing their ultimate contribution, their essential role in the sheer survival in harsh climates. This isn't just about convenience. It's about life itself in a world that pushes the boundaries of human endurance. The Arctic is relentlessly unforgiving, and without their canine companions, the Inuit would have faced a battle for existence that was often unwinnable. A mainstream historical fact that cannot be overstated is the dogs' direct contribution to preventing starvation. They were not just hunters, they were also vital for retrieving kills, often over long distances or from difficult terrain. A downed caribou or a harvested seal, weighing hundreds of pounds, was not something a single human could easily transport back to camp. Dog teams transformed this logistical nightmare into a manageable task, ensuring that precious food, fat, and furs made it back to feed and clothe the community. You're seeing the difference between a feast and a famine, carried on 4 sturdy legs. Consider a quirky tidbit. In extreme emergencies, if food was desperately scarce, it was a grim but understood reality that a dog might be sacrificed to save the human family from starvation. While heartbreaking, it underscores the brutal calculus of Arctic survival, where every life was precious, but human life took precedence. This wasn't a casual decision. It was a last resort, a testament to the unimaginable hardship faced and the absolute necessity of resourcefulness. You're feeling the chilling weight of those impossible choices. Historians still argue whether the most challenging aspect of survival was finding enough food for both humans and dogs, or simply enduring the relentless cold and harsh weather. Both were undeniably brutal, but the dogs were often the key to overcoming both by enabling successful hunts and providing transport for vital supplies like firewood or blubber for fuel. You're realizing that every calorie burned by a dog was a calorie saved or gained for a human. You're watching a blizzard descend, a swirling vortex of snow and wind that reduces visibility to mere feet and drops temperatures to lethal levels. In such conditions, a human alone would quickly succumb to disorientation and hypothermia. But the dog team, huddled together, often with the hunter burrowed among them for warmth, could provide vital protection. Their thick fur, their compact bodies, and their natural ability to find shelter could create a small, temporary haven against the storm. You're literally sharing body heat with your best friends, praying the storm passes before the igloo collapses. It's not glamorous, but it's effective. Beyond immediate shelter, the dogs were essential for accessing vital resources like wood, stone, or even other human camps for trade or aid. A journey of a few days for a dog team might be weeks or even months on foot, if it were even possible at all. They extended the reach of human communities, connecting isolated settlements and allowing for the exchange of goods and knowledge. You're seeing them as the lifelines of the Arctic, forging invisible pathways across an otherwise insurmountable wilderness. The psychological impact of their presence also cannot be overlooked. In the vast, silent, often terrifying emptiness of the Arctic, the constant companionship of a loyal dog team provided a profound sense of security and solace. You're never truly alone when you have a pack of intelligent, devoted animals by your side. Their watchful eyes, their comforting presence, their innate alertness to danger, all contributed to the mental well-being of the hunters, helping to stave off the crushing despair that such an environment could easily induce. It's hard to be completely overwhelmed by existential dread when you have a dozen furry faces looking at you expectantly. The snow continues to fall softly, blanketing the landscape in pristine white, but the relentless focus on hunting and sheer survival starts to broaden. You've seen the dogs as critical partners in the hunt and as saviors in harsh conditions, but now you're witnessing their deeper integration into beyond the hunt, daily life. These animals weren't just tools. They were intertwined with the very fabric of Inuit existence, playing diverse roles that extended into almost every aspect of their challenging yet rich daily routines. A mainstream historical fact is that dogs were often used to guard camps and homes. In a world where polar bears or other predators could be a constant threat, the keen senses and protective instincts of dogs provided an invaluable early warning system. Their barks, their growls, their general restlessness would alert the community to approaching danger long before humans detected it. You're feeling a sense of security, even in this wild landscape, knowing that a furry sentry is always on duty. It's like having a very noisy, very effective doorbell, only it barks at hungry bears instead of solicitors. Consider a quirky tidbit. In some regions, dogs were occasionally used to help locate seal breathing holes even when not actively hunting. Their powerful sense of smell could detect the faint scent of a seal's breath or body heat emanating from under the snow. Imagine a dog stopping abruptly, sniffing intensely at a seemingly blank expanse of ice, then pawing insistently, signaling the hidden presence of a vital food source. It's like having a living, breathing, blubber-sniffing divining rod, only much more effective. Historians still argue whether the dog's role in daily life was primarily an extension of their hunting and transport utility, or if their companionship provided a necessary emotional anchor in isolated communities. It was undoubtedly both. Their physical contributions were immense, but their mere presence as loyal, interactive beings in a sparse social environment was equally invaluable. You're seeing the holistic integration of an animal into every facet of a human community. You observe the camp scene. While some dogs are tethered, others might be loosely milling about, interacting with children. Youngsters learn from an early age how to respect and interact with the dogs, preparing them for their future roles as handlers. You see a small child tentatively offering a piece of dried fish to a large, patient dog, beginning the lifelong bond of trust. The dogs served as playmates, silent guardians, and perhaps even as furry, non-judgmental confidants in a life often lived in close quarters. Dogs also played a subtle, yet important, role in waste management around a camp. While not their primary function, they would scavenge food scraps and other organic waste, helping to keep the immediate living area cleaner and less attractive to other, more dangerous scavengers. You're witnessing a kind of rudimentary, but effective, sanitation system powered by hungry canines. It's certainly more environmentally friendly than a landfill, though perhaps a bit noisier at meal times. Furthermore, the dog's very existence shaped the rhythm of daily life. Feeding them, caring for them, preparing harnesses, and repairing sleds all became integral parts of the daily routine. These tasks provided structure and purpose, ensuring that humans were constantly engaged in activities that directly contributed to the well-being of the team and thus the community. You realize that a good portion of a hunter's day would be dedicated not just to hunting, but to maintaining the infrastructure of their mobile life, with the dogs at its very heart. The presence of the dogs added a layer of dynamism and sound to an otherwise quiet existence. Their barks, whines, and playful growls, along with the rhythmic jingle of their harnesses, were the sounds of a living, working camp. They were a constant reminder of the incredible partnership that allowed life to flourish in this extreme environment. You're seeing that the relationship with these animals was not compartmentalized. It was woven into every stitch of their cultural and practical tapestry, making them truly indispensable members of the family and the community. You're still immersed in the daily life of the Arctic, but now your attention shifts to the fascinating internal workings of the dog teams themselves. It's not just a collection of powerful animals, it's a finely tuned organism, each member with a distinct role, all working in intricate harmony. You're now delving into dog team dynamics explored, uncovering the complex social structures and leadership hierarchies that were essential for efficient and safe travel and hunting in this unforgiving world. A mainstream historical fact about sled dog teams is that they operated with a clear, recognized hierarchy, much like a wolf pack, but with the human handler as the ultimate, albeit subtle, leader. At the front, the lead dogs, usually one or two, were paramount. These were the smartest, most experienced, and most responsive dogs, capable of understanding complex commands and making critical decisions about terrain and direction. Behind them, the swing dogs helped to turn the team, followed by the team dogs, who provided the brute pulling power, and finally the wheel dogs closest to the sled, who were typically the strongest and most stable. You're seeing a living, breathing, incredibly efficient machine. Consider a quirky tidbit. Sometimes a lead dog might exhibit a stubborn streak, refusing to move or changing direction unexpectedly, a canine protest known as dogging. A skilled musher wouldn't resort to punishment, but might instead get off the sled and walk ahead, subtly encouraging the dog, or even singing a particularly persuasive whispered song. It's a testament to the respect for the animal's individual personalities. Even a dog needed a day off, or at least a good reason to keep going. You can almost hear the dog sighing, "Fine, but only if you sing my favorite tune." Historians still argue whether the selection of lead dogs was based more on innate intelligence and a strong will to lead, or primarily on their responsiveness to human commands and training. It was likely a combination of both. A natural leader who could also be effectively guided was the ideal. You're seeing the musher as a keen observer, identifying and nurturing the unique talents of each dog within the team. You observe the subtle, almost telepathic communication within the team itself. The lead dog doesn't just listen to the musher, it also communicates with the dogs behind it through body language, ear movements, and even subtle shifts in pace. The swing dogs anticipate the turns, the team dogs maintain their rhythm, and the wheel dogs brace for the pull. It's a constant flow of non-verbal cues, a silent conversation among animals focused on a shared goal. You're realizing that the musher is not just directing individual dogs, but orchestrating a finely tuned collective intelligence. The musher's role in managing these dynamics was crucial. They weren't just passengers, they were active participants, reading the dog's moods, anticipating their needs, and providing constant reinforcement. The whispered songs, of course, were central to this. A particular hum could signal a challenging patch of ice, requiring the team to brace together. A slightly different melody might encourage a tired dog to dig deeper. The musher was not a dictator, but a facilitator, guiding the collective energy and ensuring cohesion. The constant training, from puppyhood onwards, instilled not just obedience, but also an understanding of roles and responsibilities within the team. Each dog learned its place, its specific contribution to the collective effort. This wasn't just about pulling, it was about knowing how to pull, when to pull, and with whom to pull. You're seeing the results of countless hours of patient, empathetic teaching, resulting in a bond of trust not just between human and dog, but among the dogs themselves. The beauty of these dog team dynamics lies in their adaptive nature. A skilled musher could shift dogs within the team based on their strengths, their energy levels, or even their temperament on a given day. If a lead dog was fatigued, another could step up. If a particular dog was excelling in pulling, it might be moved to a position where its strength was most effectively utilized. You're witnessing a truly flexible and resilient system, built on understanding and respect for each individual within the powerful pack. You're beginning to understand the intricate dance of the dog team, but now you need to step back, way back, to the very beginning of that journey. You're about to witness the profoundly intimate and rigorous process of training Inuit sled dog puppies, taking them from adorable, yapping bundles of fur to indispensable working partners. This isn't just about teaching tricks, it's about nurturing a lifetime partnership, forging a bond so strong it can literally mean the difference between life and death. A mainstream historical fact is that this training began almost from birth, deeply integrating the puppies into human family life. Unlike modern kennel practices, Inuit puppies were often kept in or very near the family's dwelling, allowing for constant human interaction and early socialization. You'd see children playing with them, adults gently handling them, constantly exposing them to human voices and the rhythms of camp life. This early, consistent exposure fostered a profound trust and comfort with humans, laying the groundwork for future cooperation. You can almost feel the soft puppy fur and hear the tiny, excited yips. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some Inuit would even give special, unique whispered songs or hums to individual puppies, establishing an almost private form of communication with them from a very young age. It was believed that this personal song would help the puppy develop a stronger bond with its specific handler and recognize their unique vocal signature even amidst the barks of other dogs. Imagine having your own personal theme song, delivered in a whisper, before you even knew how to walk properly. It's a sweet, almost poetic detail in a harsh world. Historians still argue whether the effectiveness of this early socialization was more due to the constant human presence or to the specific, gentle training methods employed from infancy. It was undoubtedly a powerful combination, creating dogs that were both highly socialized to humans and eager to please. You're observing a process that understands the power of early intervention long before developmental psychology became a thing. You watch as the puppies grow, their instincts gradually becoming more apparent. The first training might involve simply encouraging them to follow the human, perhaps with a tempting piece of dried meat. Then, very light harnesses might be introduced, allowing them to get accustomed to the feel without any actual pulling. The emphasis is always on positive reinforcement and patience. There's no harsh punishment, no breaking of spirit. Instead, it's about building confidence and a desire to work. You're seeing the genesis of that famous will to please that defines many working dog breeds. As they get older, the puppies are gradually introduced to older, more experienced dogs in the team. They learn by observation and imitation, watching the veterans pull, listen to commands, and navigate the terrain. This informal apprenticeship is crucial. The older dogs act as mentors, teaching the youngsters the ropes, the rhythm of the pull, and the importance of teamwork. You're witnessing a passing of knowledge, not just from human to dog, but from dog to dog, a living tradition evolving with each new generation. The whispered songs become an integral part of this early training. From the moment a puppy is born, it hears the soft hums and gentle murmurs of its human family. These sounds become associated with comfort, food, safety, and later with specific actions. The consistency of these whispered cues establishes a clear, non-threatening communication channel. When the puppy is old enough to be put in a harness, the familiar whispered commands are already linked in its developing mind with positive experiences. You're seeing a seamless transition from nurturing to training, a natural progression built on trust. This rigorous yet empathetic approach ensured that by the time a dog was ready to join a full team, it wasn't just physically capable, but mentally prepared. It understood its role, trusted its handler implicitly, and was eager to contribute. You're witnessing the creation of more than just a working animal. You're seeing the birth of a true partner, forged by a lifetime of shared experiences and a unique whispered language. You're deep in the heart of the Arctic training grounds, having observed the careful nurturing of puppies, and now you're experiencing the culmination of that effort. You're focusing intently on the profound connection that forms between human and animal, the emergence of the master's voice, the dog's ear. This is where the unique whispered songs truly shine, forging a communication channel so precise and intimate that it borders on telepathy, crucial for survival in an environment where mistakes are fatal. A mainstream historical fact reinforcing this intimacy is that the Inuit developed an acute understanding of canine hearing, recognizing its superior range and sensitivity compared to human hearing. They understood that dogs could perceive higher frequencies and lower decibel levels, allowing for commands that were barely audible to a human, or perhaps completely silent, carrying specific information to the dogs. You're realizing that while you might only hear a soft hum, the dog is picking up a complex array of frequencies and intonations. It's like listening to a dog whistle, but with meaningful instructions embedded within it. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some accounts suggest that skilled Inuit mushers could even communicate with their lead dogs by gently pressing their forehead against the dog's head, possibly combining a whispered command with subtle vibrations or scent cues. Imagine the ultimate trust, a silent, almost spiritual transfer of intent directly from human mind to canine mind. It's certainly more impressive than trying to get your dog to stay with a hand signal and a bag of treats. Historians still argue whether the extreme attentiveness of the dogs to these whispered commands was primarily due to extensive training, or if the deep bond formed from puppyhood made them inherently more responsive to their handler's voice. It was likely a synergistic effect, where trust cultivated from birth made the training incredibly effective. You're seeing that a lifetime of positive reinforcement, combined with a crucial reliance on each other, built an unbreakable link. You observe a hunter navigating a perilous stretch of ice. The wind howls, making verbal communication difficult, and yet the led dog shifts its weight, adjusting its path subtly. You lean in, trying to catch the command, but hear nothing more than a faint exhalation, a barely audible rasp of sound. Yet, the dog reacts instantly. This is the essence of the master's voice, transformed into an almost inaudible signal, reaching the dog's ear with crystal clarity. The dog isn't just hearing, it's listening with every fibre of its being, its focus absolute. This refined communication allowed for incredible precision in difficult situations. Imagine guiding a team through a dense fog or a whiteout, where visual cues are non-existent. The subtle variations in the whispered songs are slight change in pitch, a specific rhythm, a momentary pause could convey complex directions. Veer left around that hidden crevasse, slow down, ice is thin ahead, or find the scent of the caribou. It was a language of nuance, understood perfectly by those who had lived it their entire lives. You're seeing a dance of sound and instinct, played out on the grand, perilous stage of the Arctic. The profound trust built through this unique communication meant that dogs would follow commands even when their own instincts might tell them otherwise, because they implicitly trusted their handler's judgment. This isn't blind obedience, it's informed cooperation, where the dog knows the human has a larger understanding of the terrain and the dangers. You realize that this communication wasn't just unidirectional. The dogs also conveyed information back to the handler through their body language, their pace, and their reactions, creating a constant dialogue. Ultimately, the mastery of this whispered communication cemented the handler's role as the undisputed leader of the pack, not through fear, but through respect and effective communication. It created a harmonious, efficient unit where the master's voice wasn't a command yelled into the wind, but a quiet, trusted signal that resonated deep within the dog's very being, guiding them through the world. You've heard the whispers, felt their subtle power in guiding the dogs, but now you're beginning to understand that these sounds transcend mere commands. They are not just tools for training, they have become ingrained in the very soul of the Inuit people, evolving into something far more profound. You're now exploring how these songs as cultural artifacts transformed from practical necessities into expressions of identity, tradition, and the deep spiritual connection with their canine partners. A mainstream historical fact is that oral traditions were the primary means of transmitting knowledge, history, and cultural values among the Inuit. In a society without a written language, in the Western sense, stories, songs, and chants served as living libraries. The whispered dog songs, therefore, were not isolated practical instructions, they were part of a broader tapestry of vocalizations, narratives, and melodies that defined their world. You're hearing not just commands, but echoes of generations past, each note imbued with history. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some of these whispered songs might have contained specific, almost poetic descriptions of the landscape, the weather, or even the characteristics of individual dogs, hidden within the seemingly simple commands. It's like a secret code, where a phrase meaning turn left also conjures an image of a particular ice formation, or a remembered blizzard. Imagine your GPS giving you directions like, take a slight left where the willow branches dance like ancient spirits, then proceed past the hill that hums with winter's breath. Far more evocative, wouldn't you agree? Historians still argue whether the primary cultural significance of these songs was their role in preserving unique training knowledge, or if their deeper meaning lay in reinforcing the spiritual bond between humans and the natural world, including animals. It was undoubtedly both, as practical survival was always deeply intertwined with spiritual respect for the environment and its creatures. You're seeing a pragmatic people imbue their daily survival with profound meaning. You observe an elder, no longer able to hunt, softly humming a whispered song by the flickering light of a quillic oil lamp. It's a tune their grandfather taught them, a melody passed down through generations. This isn't for a dog team, it's a moment of reflection, a connection to their heritage. The songs become a mnemonic device, helping to remember specific hunting routes, dangerous ice conditions, or the traits of legendary lead dogs from the past. You're realizing that these whispered tunes are living history lessons, carrying vital information beyond their immediate purpose. The songs also served as a unique marker of identity for particular families or regions. Just as different communities had distinct dialects or storytelling styles, they might have had subtly different collections of whispered songs. A hunter meeting another from a distant camp might recognize the familiar cadence of a training song, instantly establishing a connection and a shared heritage. You're hearing an auditory fingerprint, identifying not just the handler, but their lineage and origin. It's like a family crest, but for your ears. Furthermore, the very act of creating and performing these songs, even in a whispered form, was a creative expression. It required an understanding of rhythm, pitch, and timing, a sensitivity to sound that was honed over countless hours on the sled. The songs were a testament to the Inuits' artistic ingenuity, finding beauty and meaning in the most functional aspects of their lives. You're seeing art born not from leisure, but from the crucible of necessity, proving that creativity thrives even in the most challenging conditions. These whispered songs, then, were far more than simple commands. They were threads in the rich tapestry of Inuit culture, binding generations, preserving knowledge, and celebrating the extraordinary partnership between humans and their indispensable canine companions. They were the silent anthems of survival, sung softly into the vast, indifferent expanse of the Arctic. The soft echoes of the cultural songs still resonate, a testament to their deep meaning. Now, you're shifting your focus to how the stories and knowledge surrounding these magnificent animals were disseminated and preserved. You're delving into the world of oral traditions and canine lore, understanding that the history of the Inuit dog wasn't written in books, but etched into the memories and passed through the voices of generations, ensuring that the wisdom of the past guided the present and future. A mainstream historical fact you immediately grasp is the paramount importance of storytelling in societies reliant on oral transmission. In the Arctic, where long periods of darkness confined communities indoors, storytelling became a vital form of education, entertainment, and cultural preservation. Tales of epic hunts, daring journeys, and the bravery of particular dogs weren't just bedtime stories. They were practical lessons, disguised as narratives, teaching young hunters about ice safety, animal behavior, and the proper way to handle a team. You're sitting by the flickering quillic, captivated by a voice weaving tales of heroic sled dogs. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some of these dog-centric stories featured animals that could transform into humans, or vice versa, highlighting the deep spiritual kinship and blurring the lines between species. Imagine a tale where a particularly wise lead dog, after a lifetime of service, sheds its fur and becomes a respected elder in the community, sharing its unique animal perspective. It's a charming thought, and definitely a more interesting origin story than your average family pets. Historians still argue whether the primary purpose of these canine lore stories was to educate and instill practical skills, or if they served a deeper social function, reinforcing community values and the unique human-animal bond. It was almost certainly both. The stories held lessons for survival, but also provided a moral compass and a cultural identity, all wrapped up in compelling narratives. You're seeing how entertainment and education were seamlessly blended. You observe an elder recounting a tale of Kimmick the Fearless, a legendary lead dog who navigated a team through an impossible blizzard, saving the entire hunting party. The narrative details, the subtle whispered commands the musher used, the way Kimmick responded to barely perceptible cues, and the dog's unwavering determination. These details aren't just for dramatic effect. They teach listeners about the nuances of communication, the importance of trust, and the qualities of a good lead dog. You're not just listening to a story, you're attending an ancient masterclass in mushing. Beyond heroic tales, the lore also included practical wisdom about dog care, breeding, and recognizing temperaments. A story about a dog with a particular behavioral quirk might subtly convey a lesson on how to manage such a personality within a team. Accounts of successful hunts would meticulously describe the specific roles each dog played, reinforcing the importance of teamwork and individual strengths. You're absorbing a wealth of knowledge, gently delivered through engaging narratives rather than dry instruction. The transmission of this canine lore was often informal, occurring around the evening fire, during long journeys, or while performing daily tasks. Children absorbed these stories from an early age, internalizing the values and practical knowledge embedded within them. This continuous exposure ensured that the intricate relationship with dogs and the unique methods of training them were passed down consistently from one generation to the next. You're seeing how an entire culture's understanding of its most vital animal was maintained through the power of shared narrative. These oral traditions reinforced the dog's revered status within Inuit society. They were not just animals, they were heroes, partners, and sometimes even spiritual guides. The lore solidified their place in the cultural narrative, ensuring that their contribution to survival and identity was never forgotten. You're witnessing the lasting legacy of a profound partnership, woven into the very fabric of human stories. You're still steeped in the rich tapestry of Inuit oral tradition, understanding how knowledge of their canine partners was passed down. But now, you're zooming out a bit, recognizing that the vastness of the Arctic meant not every community approached dog training in precisely the same way. You're now exploring regional variations in training, understanding that while core principles remained, subtle differences emerged, shaped by local environments, available resources, and the specific types of game hunted. A mainstream historical fact is that the Inuit are not a single monolithic culture, but rather a diverse group of indigenous peoples spread across vast territories of the Arctic, from Greenland to Alaska. This geographical dispersion naturally led to adaptations in hunting techniques, tool design, and, critically, dog training. What worked best for hunting seals on sea ice in one region might not be ideal for tracking caribou across the barren lands in another. You're seeing a mosaic of ingenuity, each piece perfectly fitted to its specific local context. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some coastal Inuit groups, highly reliant on marine mammals, might have placed a greater emphasis on training dogs to locate seal breathing holes from a distance, perhaps even developing specific whispered signals for this task. In contrast, inland groups focused on caribou might have prioritized stealth and endurance for long pursuit hunts. Imagine a dog trained for coastal work getting confused by a caribou's scent, thinking it's just a really large, oddly shaped seal. It highlights the specialization that occurred. Historians still argue whether these regional variations were primarily due to differing environmental pressures, or if they reflected distinct cultural preferences and historical lineages within Inuit groups. It was likely a blend of both, with the environment dictating possibilities and cultural choices refining the methods. You're witnessing how human ingenuity constantly adapts to and shapes its surroundings. You observe two different training scenarios. In one, a hunter on the coast uses a specific, soft, almost guttural hum, barely audible, to direct their lead dog towards a likely breathing hole, the sound designed not to disturb the sensitive seals. The training emphasizes extreme stealth and precise, almost imperceptible movements from the dog. Here, the whispered songs might be shorter, more focused on immediate, subtle commands. You can practically taste the salty air and the anticipation of a hunt. In another scenario, far inland on the open tundra, a different hunter is training their dogs for long-distance travel and caribou hunts. Their whispered songs might have a more rhythmic, sustained quality, encouraging endurance and a steady pace over vast, featureless plains. The commands might focus more on maintaining direction over long stretches or herding techniques to funnel caribou towards waiting hunters. Here, speed and stamina are prioritized, and the dogs are trained to cover incredible distances without tiring. You're feeling the relentless march across endless snow. These variations extended to the types of sleds and harnesses used, which in turn influence the dog's pulling styles and training. Some regions might have favoured fan hitches, where each dog is individually tethered to the sled, allowing for greater manoeuvrability in broken ice. Others might have preferred the gang hitch, with dogs lined up in pairs for sheer pulling power over flat, stable ice. Each configuration required distinct training adjustments, from how dogs learned to avoid tangles to how they responded to collective turns. You're realizing that every piece of the puzzle, from the environment to the equipment, influenced the training methodology. Despite these regional differences, the core principles of Inuit dog training remained remarkably consistent: early socialization, positive reinforcement, a deep understanding of canine psychology, and the use of whispered, intuitive communication. These fundamental elements form the bedrock upon which all regional adaptations were built. You're seeing the common thread of respect and profound partnership that united all Inuit dog handlers across the vastness of the Arctic. You've explored the subtle regional nuances of Inuit dog training, appreciating the deep indigenous knowledge that shaped each variation. But now, a new force begins to ripple through the Arctic, bringing profound changes that would inevitably impact the ancient relationship between the Inuit and their dogs. You're observing the complex and often challenging impact of European contact, a period that introduced new technologies, diseases, and economic pressures, fundamentally altering traditional Inuit dog training and sledding practices. A mainstream historical fact is that European whalers, traders, and explorers began making increasingly frequent contact with Inuit communities from the 17th century onwards, intensifying significantly in the 19th and 20th centuries. These encounters brought unprecedented cultural exchange, but also unforeseen consequences. You're seeing the first crack in the traditional way of life, a subtle shift in the wind that hints at a coming storm. Consider a quirky tidbit. One of the unexpected influences of European contact was the introduction of new types of dogs. While hardy Arctic breeds dominated, some European breeds, brought by whalers or explorers, occasionally interbred with local dogs. Imagine a traditional Inuit sled team suddenly having a shaggy, slightly bewildered Newfoundland dog pulling alongside the sleek, experienced Arctic dogs. While some crossbreeds might have offered certain advantages, like increased size, they also introduced new genetic vulnerabilities and temperaments that didn't always align with traditional training methods. It's like trying to teach a classical pianist to play heavy metal, technically possible, but perhaps not ideal. Historians still argue whether the most significant impact of European contact on Inuit dog culture was the introduction of new diseases, which decimated dog populations, or the gradual shift towards a wage economy, which altered the practical necessity of traditional dog teams. Both were profoundly disruptive. You're witnessing a difficult period of adaptation as the Inuit grappled with forces far beyond their control. You observe the scene. European goods, like firearms, metal tools, and textiles, begin to appear in Inuit camps through trade. While these items offered practical advantages, they also started to reduce reliance on traditional hunting methods and materials. A firearm, for instance, could bring down game more efficiently than traditional spears, sometimes lessening the immediate need for a highly specialized hunting dog to corner or track. This isn't to say dogs became obsolete, but their primary role began to shift. The most devastating impact, however, came from the introduction of canine diseases, such as distemper and rabies, to which Arctic dogs had no natural immunity. These diseases, brought by European dogs or even wild animals exposed through contact, swept through Inuit communities with terrifying speed, wiping out entire dog populations. You're witnessing the heartbreak of losing not just working animals, but beloved family members in epidemics that left communities stranded and vulnerable. It's a tragedy that reverberates through generations, a stark reminder of the unintended consequences of contact. Furthermore, as Western influence grew, and particularly with the establishment of permanent settlements, schools, and medical facilities, the nomadic lifestyle that necessitated large, powerful dog teams began to decline. Snowmobiles, introduced in the mid-20th century, offered a faster, less labor-intensive mode of transport. While snowmobiles brought undoubted convenience, they also contributed to the decline of traditional dog mushing skills and the subtle, whispered communication that had defined the partnership for millennia. You're seeing technology, for better or worse, beginning to replace ancient wisdom. The economic shift from a subsistence lifestyle to one increasingly dependent on trapping for fur trade or wage labor also altered the value proposition of dog teams. Feeding and maintaining a team became an economic burden if they weren't constantly earning their keep. You're witnessing a slow, painful transition where the ancient bond, though still cherished, was increasingly challenged by the inexorable march of modernity and its accompanying conveniences and hardships. The echoes of European contact still reverberate, having brought both new tools and unforeseen challenges to the Arctic. Yet, even as snowmobiles rumble and modern settlements expand, the ancient spirit of the Inuit dog persists. You're now shifting your focus to how, despite immense pressures, modern echoes of ancient training continue to survive and even thrive in contemporary dog sledding and indigenous practices. The whispered songs, though perhaps less common, still hum beneath the surface of the snowy landscape, a testament to enduring wisdom. A mainstream historical fact is that while traditional dog team usage declined significantly in the mid to late 20th century, particularly after the widespread adoption of snowmobiles, there has been a resurgence of interest in preserving and revitalizing Inuit dog culture in recent decades. This isn't just about nostalgia, it's about reconnecting with cultural heritage, promoting traditional skills, and recognizing the unique capabilities of these incredible animals. You're seeing a deliberate effort to keep the ancient ways alive, like tending a precious flickering flame. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some contemporary Inuit mushers and cultural practitioners actively choose to use traditional methods, including whispered commands and soft vocalizations, even when modern technologies are available. They argue that this fosters a deeper bond with their dogs, resulting in a more harmonious and responsive team than methods relying solely on shouted commands or physical cues. Imagine a modern dog sled race, where one team glides almost silently, guided by murmurs, while others are full of loud haws and geese. You'd probably think the quiet team had a secret weapon, and they do: ancient wisdom. Historians still argue whether the renewed interest in traditional dog sledding is primarily driven by cultural pride and identity, or if there's a growing recognition of the environmental and practical benefits of dog power over fossil fuels in certain Arctic conditions. It's likely both, as the preservation of heritage often aligns with sustainable practices. You're witnessing a beautiful intersection of tradition and environmental consciousness. You observe a modern-day musher, bundled in high-tech outerwear, but guiding a team of magnificent Inuit dogs across the snow. Their voice is low, almost a conversational tone, interspersed with those familiar, soft hums and rhythmic whispers. The dogs respond with the same precision and focus as their ancestors. This isn't just a performance, it's a living demonstration of the enduring efficacy of the ancient training methods. The bond forged through whispered songs remains as powerful today as it was millennia ago. Many indigenous communities are actively engaged in programs to revive dog mushing traditions. This often involves teaching younger generations the full spectrum of skills: dog care, harness making, sled building, and, crucially, the art of communicating with dogs through traditional vocalizations. These programs are vital for passing down not just practical skills, but also the cultural values and respect for animals that are embedded in the whispered songs and canine lore. You're seeing the next generation learning to speak dog in the ancient way. Furthermore, Arctic dog breeds, descended from these ancient lines, continue to be recognized for their unique strengths. Breeds like the Canadian Inuit dog, Greenland dog, and Siberian husky, though the latter is a more recent development from Northeast Asia, it shares deep roots with Arctic sled dogs, are celebrated for their endurance, intelligence, and adaptability to extreme cold. Their lineage carries the genetic memory of those ancient partnerships, and with it, the potential for connection through the very sounds that shaped them. You realize that the dogs themselves are living testaments to this enduring history. The presence of modern echoes of ancient training serves as a powerful reminder that true wisdom transcends time and technology. The intimate, respectful relationship between the Inuit and their dogs, fostered through the gentle power of whispered songs, continues to inspire and offers valuable lessons for how humans can form profound, collaborative partnerships with the animal world. You've witnessed the persistence of ancient training methods, a beautiful blend of past and present. Now, Let's consider why these whispered songs and empathetic approaches were so remarkably effective even by contemporary standards. You're delving into the science of canine cognition, exploring how modern understanding of dog intelligence, communication, and social behavior actually supports and validates the intuitive brilliance of Inuit training. It turns out ancient wisdom often has a solid scientific backing, even if the ancients didn't have fMRI machines. A mainstream historical fact in modern canine science is that dogs possess an extraordinary capacity for understanding human vocalizations and non-verbal cues. They are not just responding to simple words, but to tone, pitch, cadence, and even subtle body language. The Inuits' whispered songs, with their nuanced acoustic properties, inherently leverage this canine capability. You're realizing that what seemed like an intuitive art was in fact a deeply effective form of interspecies communication, tapping into the very neural pathways of the dog's brain. It's almost like they knew about cognitive psychology before it had a fancy name. Consider a quirky tidbit. Studies have shown that dogs can differentiate between human languages and even recognize different human emotions conveyed through voice, regardless of the words used. This suggests that the emotional content and subtle tonal shifts within the Inuit whispered songs might have been as important as the specific commands themselves. Imagine your dog understanding your unspoken frustration or calm reassurance simply from the quality of your hum. It probably also means they know exactly when you're faking being asleep to avoid taking them out in the rain. Historians and ethologists still argue whether the remarkable cognitive abilities of Arctic dogs were primarily a result of their long co-evolution with humans, or if inherent traits in their wolf ancestors predisposed them to such deep levels of understanding. It's likely a complex interplay where natural intelligence was refined and amplified through millennia of selective breeding and intensive, respectful training. You're seeing intelligence fostered, not simply exploited. You observe a neuroscientist in a modern lab, perhaps using fMRI scans to watch a dog's brain activity as it listens to various human sounds. The areas of the brain associated with processing vocalizations light up when the dog hears a familiar human voice, especially one with a calm, consistent tone. This mirrors exactly what the Inuit achieved with their whispered songs, creating a predictable, non-threatening auditory environment that optimized the dog's ability to listen and respond. The low volume reduces anxiety, allowing the dog to focus solely on the subtle cues. Modern behavioral science also emphasizes the importance of positive reinforcement and building a strong, trusting relationship for effective dog training. Punishment-based methods can lead to fear and inhibit learning. The Inuits' approach, characterized by early socialization, patience, and the use of gentle whispers and hums, aligns perfectly with these modern principles. You're seeing centuries-old methods that intuitively understood that cooperation, not coercion, yields the best results with intelligent animals. It's like they read the textbooks before they were even written. Furthermore, the concept of dogs as highly social, pack-oriented animals is central to canine cognition. The Inuit intuitively understood the hierarchy and communication within a dog team. Their training methods reinforced the musher as the consistent, reliable leader, not through brute force, but through clear, consistent communication and providing for the pack's needs. The whispered songs maintained this cohesion, allowing the team to work as a single, coordinated unit, tapping into their natural instincts to cooperate. You're realizing that the Inuits' methods weren't just quaint or traditional. They were sophisticated applications of deep observation and understanding of animal behavior. The science confirms their brilliance by tapping into the dog's acute hearing, emotional intelligence, and pack instincts through gentle, consistent whispered songs. They created a training system that was both humane and incredibly effective. It's a powerful lesson that sometimes the simplest, most intuitive approaches are also the most scientifically sound. You've just seen how modern science validates the ancient wisdom of Inuit dog training, but as you survey the contemporary Arctic, you also witness the enduring pressures that threaten these traditional ways. You're now confronting the significant challenges to traditional ways, understanding that while efforts are made to preserve the past, external forces, both environmental and societal, continue to reshape the unique human-dog partnership forged over millennia. A mainstream historical fact that continues to challenge traditional dog teams is climate change. The Arctic is warming at an alarming rate, leading to unpredictable ice conditions, shorter seasons for sea ice travel, and changes in animal migration patterns. For communities that rely on dog teams for hunting and travel over ice, these shifts create immense difficulties. Thin ice is dangerous for both dogs and humans, and a lack of consistent snow cover can make sledding impossible. You're feeling the subtle, unsettling shift in the environment, a fundamental alteration to the very landscape that defined this partnership. It's like trying to run a marathon when the ground keeps turning into quicksand. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some contemporary mushers report that unpredictable weather patterns driven by climate change also affect their dog's behavior, making them more restless or less predictable due to the instability of their natural environment. It's as if the dogs themselves are sensing the disequilibrium, a subtle anxiety passed from the melting ice into their very genes. Imagine trying to explain to your dogs that the reason the ice road is closed is because of an abstract concept like global warming. Good luck with that. Historians still argue whether the most immediate threat to traditional dog culture is the environmental impact of climate change or the socio-economic pressures that draw younger generations away from traditional pursuits. Both are formidable, creating a multifaceted challenge to the continuity of this ancient practice. You're witnessing a culture at a crossroads, navigating external pressures alongside a desire to maintain their heritage. You observe a young Inuit man, fluent in his ancestral language, yet more proficient on a snowmobile than with a dog team. The economic realities often favour modern transportation. Snowmobiles are faster for reaching distant communities or trapping lines, and they don't require daily feeding. The cost of maintaining a large dog team feeding them during lean times, veterinary care, if available, and equipment can be a significant financial burden, especially in communities where wage labour is becoming more common. You're seeing the practical choices that weigh heavily on individuals, often forcing them away from traditional methods. Furthermore, urbanization and the centralization of communities have lessened the need for extensive, long-distance travel by dog sled. Many Inuit now live in modern houses, with access to schools, stores, and healthcare, reducing the nomadic lifestyle that once necessitated dog teams for daily survival. The traditional skills, including the nuanced art of whispered commands, are less frequently practiced in daily life, putting them at risk of being lost. You're witnessing the slow erosion of skills that were once universal, replaced by the conveniences of modern living. The loss of knowledgeable elders, who carried the deep oral traditions and practical wisdom of dog training, also poses a significant challenge. As generations pass, and fewer young people engage in traditional mushing, the intricate knowledge of dog team dynamics, individual dog temperaments, and the subtle art of whispered communication risks fading away. It's like a library slowly losing its books, one by one, with no one left to read them. Despite these challenges, you also witness immense resilience. Community efforts to revive dog teams are not just about transport, they are about cultural reaffirmation, connecting with ancestral ways, and maintaining identity in a rapidly changing world. These efforts, though facing uphill battles, underscore the profound importance of the Inuit dog to the spirit of the people. You're seeing the struggle, but also the enduring hope and fierce dedication to a partnership that has shaped a civilization. You've seen the formidable challenges facing traditional Inuit dog culture, a landscape altered by climate change and modern conveniences. Yet, the human spirit, especially when deeply connected to its heritage, finds ways to resist erasure. You're now witnessing the powerful efforts to preserving a unique heritage, observing how Inuit communities, cultural organizations, and passionate individuals are working tirelessly to document, revitalize, and celebrate the ancient knowledge of Inuit dog training and mushing, ensuring its survival for future generations. A mainstream historical fact that drives these preservation efforts is the understanding that the Inuit dog is not just an animal, but a living embodiment of Inuit history and identity. Losing the traditional knowledge of how to train and work with these dogs would be akin to losing a vital chapter of their cultural narrative. Consequently, there's a strong push to create educational programs, conduct oral history projects, and foster breeding initiatives for authentic Inuit dog lines. You're seeing a community actively safeguarding its past, ensuring that its future is deeply rooted in tradition. It's like archiving precious family photos, but the photos are furry and occasionally bark. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some preservation initiatives involve culture camps where urban Inuit youth, who might have grown up far from traditional practices, can experience dog mushing firsthand, often learning to drive a team and communicate with dogs using traditional whispered commands. Imagine a teenager, used to scrolling on their phone, suddenly finding profound connection whispering to a powerful lead dog in a vast, silent landscape. It's a powerful and often life-changing experience, bridging ancient wisdom with modern lives. Historians and cultural scholars still argue whether the most effective method of preservation is through formal educational institutions, or if it lies primarily in fostering informal, intergenerational learning within families and communities. It's likely both are crucial, creating a multi-pronged approach to ensure the knowledge persists. You're witnessing a vibrant, evolving strategy to keep traditions alive. You observe an elder working with a younger generation, meticulously demonstrating how to harness a dog, how to read its cues, and how to deliver specific whispered commands. This isn't a quick lesson, it's a patient, hands-on apprenticeship transferring decades of accumulated wisdom. Every nuance, every subtle gesture, every specific hum or tone in the whispered songs is carefully explained and practiced. You're seeing knowledge being passed not through textbooks, but through shared experience and embodied practice. Documentation efforts are also critical. Researchers, often in collaboration with Inuit elders, are recording oral histories, transcribing traditional songs, and filming dog training techniques. This creates a valuable archive for future generations, a detailed record of practices that might otherwise fade. These materials can then be used in schools, museums, and community centres, making the heritage accessible to a wider audience. You're watching history being preserved in real time, one story, one whisper, one wagging tail at a time. breeding programs focused on maintaining the pure lineage of traditional Inuit dogs are also vital. After the devastating impact of diseases and crossbreeding, efforts are being made to ensure that future generations have access to dogs with the inherent strength, endurance, and temperament that defined the ancient teams. These programs are not just about genetics, they are about preserving the physical embodiment of a cultural heritage. You're seeing the commitment to ensuring that the very physical manifestation of this history continues to exist. Ultimately, these preservation efforts are about resilience and cultural continuity. They are a declaration that despite modernization and external pressures, the deep respect and partnership with the Inuit dog, forged in the crucible of the Arctic, will endure. You're witnessing a powerful commitment to keeping a unique heritage alive, whispered from one generation to the next, like the very songs that guide the dogs themselves. You've absorbed the challenges and the dedicated efforts to preserve this extraordinary heritage. Now, let's pause to reflect on the very essence of what makes this partnership so special. You're delving into the spirit of the sled dog, recognizing that the bond between Inuit and their working dogs is far more than functional. It's a profound connection built on shared survival, unwavering loyalty, and an enduring sense of mutual respect that speaks to the deepest parts of both human and animal nature. A mainstream historical fact underpinning this spirit is the sheer amount of collective effort and shared hardship that forged this bond. For millennia, humans and dogs faced down the Arctic's unforgiving elements, together blizzards, scarce food, brutal cold, and dangerous encounters with wildlife. Every successful hunt, every safe journey, every night survived was a shared victory. This constant reliance on one another built an unshakable trust and camaraderie. You're feeling the weight of that shared history, the profound sense of interspecies teamwork that defines their existence. It's like being in a very exclusive, very cold, and very furry club. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some Inuit elders describe the spirit of their lead dogs as being akin to that of a wise, silent mentor, capable of offering guidance beyond simple obedience. They speak of dogs making decisions that saved lives, intuiting danger or a better path. This isn't just anthropomorphism. It reflects a deep respect for the dog's intelligence and their intuitive understanding of the environment. Imagine your pet offering you profound life advice, perhaps after you've spent too long looking at cat videos. Historians and cultural anthropologists still argue whether the perceived spirit of the sled dog is a reflection of their incredible practical capabilities, or if it represents a deeper cultural belief in the interconnectedness of all living beings in the Arctic ecosystem. It's likely both, a blend of functional appreciation and spiritual reverence. You're seeing how practical necessities can become imbued with profound cultural meaning. You observe a veteran musher stroking the head of their lead dog, the gesture filled with a quiet reverence. There's a palpable understanding passing between them, a recognition of countless miles traversed and countless dangers overcome together. The dog's eyes reflect an intelligence and a dedication that goes beyond mere training. It's a partnership of equals, albeit with different skill sets. The human provides direction and sustenance. The dog provides power, endurance, and an invaluable connection to the pulse of the wild. You're witnessing a non-verbal conversation, a mutual acknowledgement of purpose and belonging. The loyalty of the sled dog is legendary. These aren't animals that can simply be bought and sold and immediately perform. They are part of a team, part of a family, and their dedication is often absolute. The stories abound of dogs pushing beyond exhaustion, risking their own lives to protect their handlers or to reach a destination that meant survival. This isn't just conditioned behavior, it's a deep-seated commitment born from the shared experience of extreme conditions. You're seeing loyalty in its purest, most raw form, forged in the crucible of ice and wind. The endurance of the sled dog, both physical and mental, also speaks to their unique spirit. They thrive in conditions that would defeat most other creatures, enduring sub-zero temperatures, blizzards, and vast distances with an almost joyful willingness. Their inherent drive to pull, to run, to work as a team is not something that can be entirely taught. It is an intrinsic part of who they are. You're witnessing a magnificent combination of natural adaptation and deliberate cultivation, resulting in a creature perfectly aligned with its purpose. Ultimately, the spirit of the sled dog is a testament to the profound connection that can exist between species when mutual respect, trust, and shared purpose form the bedrock of their relationship. It's a reminder that true strength often lies not in individual prowess, but in the power of a cohesive unit, human and canine, working in harmonious concert to conquer the world's most formidable challenges. You've just reflected on the incredible spirit of the sled dog, a testament to enduring partnership. Now, let's bring it full circle, revisiting the subtle yet powerful communication method that defines so much of this bond. You're now considering how the legacy of whispers across generations continues to influence canine communication, not just within Inuit communities, but also offering profound insights for understanding and interacting with dogs everywhere. A mainstream historical fact about communication is that nonverbal cues and subtle vocalizations are paramount in canine interactions. Wolves, and by extension dogs, rely heavily on body language, scent, and nuanced sounds, whines, growls, barks of varying intensity and pitch, to convey complex information within their pack. The Inuits' whispered songs, by tapping into this innate canine language, demonstrate an intuitive mastery of interspecies communication that predates modern scientific study. You're seeing how ancient wisdom aligns perfectly with contemporary understanding of how dogs actually communicate. Consider a quirky tidbit. Some contemporary dog trainers, even outside of mushing, have experimented with using softer, lower-toned vocalizations and less direct commands, finding that dogs often respond with greater focus and less anxiety. It's as if the whisper technique bypasses the dog's defensive instincts and speaks directly to its cooperative nature. Imagine trying to explain to your neighbor that you're using ancient Arctic canine communication techniques to get your poodle to stop barking at the mailman. They might look at you funny, but hey, if it works. Historians and ethologists still argue whether the effectiveness of whispered commands is solely due to their subtlety and non-threatening nature, or if the specific melodic or rhythmic qualities hold an inherent appeal to canine auditory processing. It's likely both, a layered approach that caters to multiple aspects of canine perception. You're witnessing a communication method that is surprisingly multidimensional. You observe a modern dog owner struggling to train a rambunctious puppy, resorting to loud commands and frustrated tones. The puppy, overwhelmed and perhaps a little fearful, becomes less responsive. Now, imagine if that owner instead adopted the Inuit approach. Calm, consistent, soft vocalizations, even whispers, coupled with clear body language. The puppy's ears would prick, its attention would sharpen, drawn in by the gentle, non-threatening sound. You're seeing how the delivery of a command can be as important as the command itself, creating an environment conducive to learning rather than fear. The legacy of whispers teaches us the power of attentive listening from the human side. When you whisper, you force the listener, the dog, to pay closer attention, to strain their senses, making them more engaged in the communication. This, in turn, strengthens the bond and the dog's responsiveness. It fosters a level of focus that loud, perfunctory commands often fail to achieve. You're realizing that effective communication isn't just about speaking, but about creating an environment where the other party genuinely wants to listen. Furthermore, the whispered songs reinforce the concept of the human as a calm, confident leader, not an aggressive one. Dogs respond best to leaders who are steady and predictable. The consistent, gentle nature of the whispered commands projects an aura of control and reassurance which dogs instinctively trust. It's a powerful lesson in leadership. Sometimes the quietest voice carries the most authority, especially when it's backed by trust and consistent behavior. The influence of these whispered techniques extends beyond practical training. It permeates the general understanding of how to build a deep, empathetic connection with dogs. It underscores that respect, patience, and subtle communication can forge bonds far stronger and more effective than any harsh method. You're realizing that the echoes of these ancient Arctic whispers resonate not just on the snowy plains, but in every loving interaction between a human and their canine companion across the globe. You've heard the whispers and understood their timeless wisdom in communication. Now, let's bring our focus back to the magnificent animals themselves, the living legacy of these ancient partnerships. You're now exploring Arctic dog breeds today, understanding their unique characteristics, their roles in contemporary society, and how they embody the thousands of years of adaptation and cooperation that we've discussed. These aren't just any dogs, they are living artifacts, sculpted by ice, wind, and the enduring bond with humanity. A mainstream historical fact is that several distinct dog breeds are recognized globally as descendants of the ancient Arctic sled dogs, each sharing core traits of endurance, cold tolerance, and a strong work ethic. Key among these are the Canadian Inuit dog, often considered the closest direct descendant of the original Inuit dog, the Greenland dog, and, with some shared ancestry, the Siberian Husky and Alaskan Malamute. You're looking at the living, breathing results of millennia of natural and selective breeding designed for extreme performance. It's like seeing a prehistoric super athlete, only with more fur and a happier tail wag. Consider a quirky tidbit. Despite their fierce appearance and incredible strength, many of these Arctic breeds, especially those properly socialized, retain a surprisingly gentle and affectionate nature with humans, particularly children. It's a testament to the fact that their working prowess was always balanced with their role as companions within the family. Imagine a dog that could pull a heavy sled through a blizzard, then come home and patiently let a toddler pull its ears. It's a delightful contrast. Historians and dog breed enthusiasts still argue whether the distinctions between some of these Arctic breeds are primarily due to geographic isolation and independent development, or if there was more intermingling and shared ancestry than previously thought. The truth, as often happens, probably lies somewhere in the middle, a complex genetic tapestry woven across the vast Arctic. You're seeing the fascinating complexity of canine lineage. You observe a Canadian Inuit dog, majestic with its thick double coat and watchful eyes. Its compact, powerful build is perfectly suited for pulling heavy loads over long distances. These dogs thrive in cold temperatures, often preferring to sleep outside, even in frigid conditions, a direct result of their ancestral adaptation. Their independence and intelligence, combined with their incredible stamina, make them ideal for modern mushing and expedition work, carrying on the tradition of their forebears. You're seeing pure, unadulterated Arctic power and resilience in canine form. The Greenland dog, closely related, also exemplifies these traits. Bred for sheer strength and endurance, they are known for their unwavering loyalty and their ability to withstand the harshest elements. While less common outside their native lands, they remain vital for traditional hunting and transportation in Greenland. You're recognizing that these dogs are not just pets. They are critical partners in ongoing indigenous lifeways. The Siberian Husky, while originating from a different part of the Arctic, Siberia, shares many characteristics with the Inuit and Greenland dogs due to similar environmental pressures and needs for sledding. They are renowned for their incredible speed and endurance, often seen in modern dog sled races. And the Alaskan Malamute, known for its immense strength and ability to pull incredibly heavy freight, also stands as a testament to the power and purpose bred into these northern breeds. You're witnessing the diverse branches of a common ancestral tree, all reaching towards the same icy sky. Today, these breeds serve a variety of roles: competitive mushing, search and rescue, recreational sledding, and, importantly, continuing to support traditional subsistence lifestyles in indigenous communities. Their distinctive appearance and unwavering spirit make them iconic symbols of the Arctic. You're realizing that these aren't just dogs. They are living monuments to human ingenuity and interspecies cooperation, embodying the whisper of history in every powerful stride. You've just admired the enduring presence of Arctic dog breeds today, living testaments to their ancient origins. Now, let's bring some of that profound ancient wisdom closer to home. You're now exploring lessons for modern dog owners, understanding that the intuitive, respectful, and effective methods of Inuit dog training, particularly the power of whispered communication, offer valuable insights and practical applications for anyone seeking to build a deeper, more harmonious relationship with their own canine companions, no matter the breed. A mainstream historical fact in modern dog behavior is that dogs learn most effectively through clear, consistent communication and positive reinforcement. The Inuit, with their emphasis on gentle whispers, early socialization, and building trust, were applying these principles long before they were formalized in Western dog training manuals. You're realizing that these ancient methods aren't just historically interesting, they're fundamentally sound, rooted in how dogs naturally learn and interact. It's like discovering that your great-great-grandmother's secret cookie recipe is actually perfectly balanced according to modern nutrition science. Consider a quirky tidbit. The Inuits' practice of using subtle, almost imperceptible vocal cues suggests that modern dog owners might find greater success by lowering the volume and increasing the nuance of their own commands. Imagine trying to train your dog using only soft hums and gentle whispers, rather than repetitive shouts of "sit." You might be surprised by how much more attentive and less stressed your dog becomes. It certainly beats yelling at your dog in public and getting judgmental looks from strangers. Historians and canine behaviorists still argue whether the extreme environmental pressures of the Arctic necessitated a more profound human-dog bond, or if the Inuits' inherent cultural reverence for animals led to these highly empathetic training methods. It's likely a powerful synergy, but the takeaway for modern owners remains: respect and understanding foster better relationships. You're seeing how necessity truly is the mother of invention and sometimes profound empathy. You observe a modern dog owner attempting to teach a new trick. Instead of loud commands and forceful gestures, they adopt a softer tone, using a gentle, rhythmic phrase to encourage the desired behavior, followed by immediate positive reinforcement, a small treat, a happy scratch behind the ears. The dog, sensing the calm demeanor and clear intention, responds with greater focus and less hesitation. You're witnessing the direct application of whispers across generations in a suburban living room. One key lesson is the importance of consistency and patience. The Inuit trained their dogs from birth, gradually introducing concepts and building on successes. Modern owners can apply this by starting training early, breaking down complex commands into smaller steps, and consistently reinforcing desired behaviors with calm, clear signals. Forget the idea of a quick fix or a boot camp for your dog. True partnership takes time and dedication. It's not a sprint, it's a very long, very furry marathon. Another crucial takeaway is the value of reading your dog's body language. The Inuit were masters at this, understanding every twitch of an ear, every shift in weight, every subtle signal from their dogs. Modern owners can cultivate this by observing their dogs closely, learning their unique cues, and responding to their needs and anxieties. This mutual understanding creates a two-way conversation rather than just a human dictating to a dog. You're learning to listen with your eyes and your intuition, not just your ears. Finally, the Inuits' profound respect for their dogs as intelligent, indispensable partners is a powerful model. Viewing your dog as a sentient being with its own personality and needs, rather than just a possession, fosters a deeper, more rewarding relationship. The whispered songs embody this respect, communicating with gentleness and understanding. You're realizing that the ancient Arctic had it right all along. The best way to lead is not with a shout, but with a whisper of trust and understanding. You've brought the ancient wisdom of Inuit dog training into your modern world, discovering its timeless applicability. Now, let's widen our gaze one last time and absorb the profound essence of the very place where this remarkable partnership was forged. You're now reflecting on the Arctic's enduring mystique, understanding how this vast, challenging, and starkly beautiful environment shaped not only the unique bond between humans and dogs, but also infused a deep sense of resilience, ingenuity, and interconnectedness into all aspects of life. A mainstream historical fact that resonates deeply is the sheer scale and isolation of the Arctic. For millennia, it remained one of the last frontiers, largely untouched by the developments of the rest of the world. This isolation fostered incredibly self-reliant cultures that developed unique solutions to universal problems like survival and travel without external influence for much of their history. You're feeling the profound silence of true wilderness, a silence that demands introspection and innovative thought. It's like being on a different planet, one made entirely of snow and ice, but surprisingly hospitable if you know the tricks. Consider a quirky tidbit. The Inuit language has a famously rich vocabulary for snow and ice conditions, far exceeding anything in English. Imagine having dozens of distinct words for different types of snow: falling snow, wind-blown snow, packed snow, soft snow, snow good for building, snow bad for travel, snow perfect for a particular whispered command. This linguistic depth reflects an intimate, nuanced understanding of their environment, a testament to how deeply connected they were to every facet of their world. It also makes you wonder what their word for snow day was, or if they just had every day as a snow day. Historians and environmentalists still argue whether the Arctic's extreme beauty or its brutal challenges had a more significant impact on shaping Inuit culture, and their bond with dogs. It was undeniably both, as the beauty provided inspiration and sustenance, while the challenges demanded adaptation and cooperation. You're witnessing a dynamic interplay between nature's power and human resilience. You stand on a frozen expanse, the air so clean and crisp it almost burns. Above you, if it's winter, the aurora borealis might be dancing, a shimmering curtain of green and purple light painting the endless night sky. Below, the vast white landscape stretches to a horizon that seems to curve with the earth itself. It's a place of overwhelming scale and profound quiet, broken only by the wind or the distant call of a wild animal. In this environment, every action has consequences, every partnership is vital, and every whisper carries immense meaning. You're feeling a deep sense of humility in the face of such raw, untamed nature. The enduring mystique of the Arctic lies not just in its physical grandeur, but in the lessons it teaches about human and animal capabilities. It highlights the incredible adaptive capacity of life, proving that intelligence, cooperation, and respect can allow beings to thrive in conditions that seem utterly uninhabitable. The Inuit and their dogs stand as the ultimate testament to this. You realize that their story isn't just about survival. It's about flourishing, about finding harmony within extreme conditions. This environment forced a profound appreciation for every resource, every living thing. There was no excess, no waste. Every part of an animal harvested was used, every piece of equipment was valued. This inherent sustainability, born of necessity, is another part of the Arctic's enduring lesson. The whispered songs, too, reflect this efficiency minimal effort for maximum impact, conserving energy in a world where every calorie counts. You're learning about a sustainable way of life, born out of direct connection to the land and its resources. Ultimately, the Arctic's mystique is a reminder of wildness, both in nature and within ourselves. It embodies the spirit of exploration, resilience, and the deep, often unspoken connections that can form between different species when faced with a common purpose. The Inuit and their dogs, through their timeless partnership and their whispered language, remain powerful symbols of this profound truth etched into the icy heart of the world. You've travelled through ancient Arctic landscapes, witnessed the genesis of an extraordinary partnership, felt the bite of the wind, and heard the timeless whispers. Now, as our journey nears its gentle close, let's bring it all together, allowing the imagery to fade into a peaceful contemplation. You're now dreaming of Arctic whispers, letting the quiet power of this story guide you toward a calm, deep rest, carrying with you the profound lessons of trust, resilience, and connection. A mainstream historical fact that settles into your mind is the profound simplicity and effectiveness of truly understanding another being. The Inuit didn't need complex theories or elaborate equipment. They needed patience, observation, and an open heart to communicate with their dogs on a level that transcended mere language. You realize that sometimes the deepest connections are forged in the quiet moments, in the softest sounds, in the unspoken understanding between two souls. It's a truth that resonates far beyond the frozen plains. Consider a quirky tidbit. Perhaps those whispered songs, so intimate and personal, were also a way for the humans to express their own hopes, fears, and even dreams to their canine companions, knowing that while the words might not be understood, the underlying emotion and connection certainly were. Imagine murmuring your aspirations for a bountiful hunt, or your quiet worries about the changing ice, into the ear of your trusted lead dog. It adds another layer of depth to an already profound bond. It's like having a therapist who works for bones. Historians and dream interpreters still argue whether the lasting power of such ancient relationships lies in their practical utility or in their capacity to fulfill a deep human need for connection and cooperation with the natural world. It was undeniably both, a symbiotic dance between survival and soul. You're letting that profound interconnectedness wash over you, calming your thoughts. As the imagery of the vast white Arctic begins to soften at the edges, you recall the crisp, clean air, the rhythmic crunch of snow, and the silent strength of the dog team. The whispers echo in your mind, not as urgent commands, but as a soothing lullaby, a gentle reminder of harmony and trust. You envision the lead dog, its ears perked, its powerful legs moving with tireless grace, guided by a barely audible hum. This is a partnership built not on force, but on mutual respect and an understanding so deep it flows without words. You feel the quiet confidence of the Inuit hunter, their life intertwined with these magnificent animals. There's a profound peace in knowing that through millennia, humans found a way to thrive in the harshest environment, not by conquering it, but by living in exquisite balance with it, supported by the unwavering loyalty of their canine companions. The image of the dog team, pulling in unison, becomes a metaphor for all cooperation, all shared endeavour, all trust. The journey we've taken tonight reminds you that even in the most challenging of circumstances, beauty and deep connection can flourish. It's a story of survival, yes, but more importantly, it's a story of love, of communication beyond words, and of a bond so strong it withstood the test of time and ice. The whispered songs, now mere echoes in the vastness of your mind, are a testament to this enduring spirit. Let the final images of the silent, snow-covered landscape drift through your consciousness. The gentle panting of the dogs, the soft hiss of the sled runners, the quiet, melodic hum of the hunter's voice, all blend into a calming symphony. The vastness of the Arctic is no longer daunting, but an expanse of serene tranquility. Allow yourself to settle, to relax, feeling the warmth of sleep begin to envelop you. The whispers have done their work, guiding you gently, surely, into a deep, peaceful rest.